On today's Locked On Angels, amidst the lockout, there's even more bad news coming from the Major League Baseball side, and it has to do with the treatment of minor league players. We got to break it all down. There's a lot to talk about today on today's Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Locked On Angels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. I'm Steve Granado. You can shoot me a follow on Twitter and TikTok at Steve Granado. And of course, my YouTube channel is also linked down below where I'll be starting up my own stuff after this week. All right, so there's a lot of stuff we need to talk about. So we obviously know that we're in a lockout right now. Major League Baseball is locked out the players. The negotiations aren't great. Spring training is in danger of being pushed back. We already have not made the report dates, which were supposed to be this week for pitchers and catchers. There are a lot of things going on right now, but there's one thing that we 100% need to talk about, and it's a couple of articles that have come out over the last couple of days. We're going to do that right here. Kenny Rosenberg, former guest of the show and new Angels minor leaguer, was speaking out on Twitter and in an Athletic article. We're going to get to that, and of course, we're going to give you a very, very brief update in the Tyler Skaggs situation at the end of the show. So we'll get to all that here today. Let's start with the news. This is coming from The Athletic today, or the last couple of days. This is what it has to say. A Major League Baseball lawyer said in federal court Friday that minor league players should not be paid during spring training because they should be considered trainees. The argument was part of a broader push by MLB to toss out an 8-year-old lawsuit over their compensation. So this is just kind of part one of what's going on. So minor leaguers do not get paid at spring training. Nothing. They get nothing for it. There have been obviously many things that have happened in minor league baseball over the last couple of years since Major League Baseball took over, essentially. We're going to get to that here in just a second. This is more from The Athletic. MLB hired an expert at a rate of $775 per hour who argued that players in spring training actually receive a value of $2,200 weekly from their teams based on what youth and amateur players pay for baseball training. Quote, this figure is an estimate of the costs plaintiffs would have had to incur had they attended a baseball prospecting camp instead of participating in the minor leagues, end quote. So their argument here is that minor leaguers are getting paid in experience, right? Does that sound familiar to you? Have you ever been an intern? I've been an intern many, many times. Have you ever heard, oh, well, it's great on your resume? That's kind of the card that Major League Baseball is playing in this situation, right? $2,200 weekly is what they're getting from this. But remember that going to spring training for minor leaguers isn't really not an option. It's kind of mandatory. It's not 100% mandatory, but it's basically mandatory in practice. So they really do have to go. Now, guys get there early sometimes, right? Guys get there a couple of weeks early. They're not getting paid for that time. Then they play minor league ball. Then they got to wait till regular season starts for minor league baseball. Then that's when they start getting paid. So all in all, sometimes they're there for 2 months, 3 months, and working out at these facilities all day long where they can't go get a part-time job, which is still ridiculous that you'd even have to think of that. But that's the reality of the situation is they are putting their bodies on the line every single day to work out for these clubs, and they're not paying them. And that's ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. Then there was this coming from Bleacher Report. Just days after a Major League Baseball lawyer said that the league believes minor leaguers shouldn't be paid during spring training, the league is now reportedly trying to eliminate jobs for minor leaguers. Yes, eliminate jobs. It's the latest labor proposal by the MLBPA. Oh, to the MLBPA, I'm sorry. The league has requested the ability to eliminate quote, hundreds of MILB playing jobs, according to Jeff Passan. The league reportedly wants to reduce the number of players a team can have in the minors below 150. So that's the answer, right? Let's just get rid of more of them. That way we don't have to pay them. Even the ones that we aren't paying, we don't have to pay them anyway because they're not even in the organization anymore. Let's just keep cutting players. Let's just get rid of them all. Let's just have whoever wants to show up will do open tryouts every day. How about we do that now? How's that? How's that for growing the sport? There's more on this. The domestic reserve list allows teams to roster 180 players according to Passant. MLB has proposed to keep that number the same in 2022. Reportedly, quote, has no plans to reduce the roster size in 2023, but could choose to increase or decrease the size after that. Minor League Baseball has already seen several changes over the last few years, including the implementation of the domestic reserve list. Before the list went into effect, teams were allowed to have as many players as they wanted under MILB contracts. According to Passant, 5 teams still have more than 100 minor league players on their domestic reserve list, and only 2 teams have less than 150. Teams are allowed to have up to 190 MILB players rostered during the offseason. So they want to cut the number down to below 150. It's currently at 190 when there wasn't a mandate at all, right? So let's just recap what's happened, right? So this is what has happened during Rob Manfred's tenure, right? Since the beginning of 2015, just shy of 7 years. This is what Major League Baseball has done to minor league baseball since then. They took it over. They took over minor league baseball. Major League Baseball now solely runs minor league baseball. They cut the amount of minor league teams, right? They axed them. See ya. Then they shortened the draft, right? Especially in the 2020 year, it was a 5-round draft. Then they had it even still not a little bit longer, but shorter than its usual length in 2021. Then you get there. You get to minor league baseball. They pay them poorly, right? And they only pay them in season. Like we've said, they don't get paid in the offseason when they're still working out and trying to maintain their bodies, if not get way, way better so they have a chance the next season. So they don't pay them in the offseason. Then they don't pay them during spring training, right? Then they go and they lock out the players. And then during this lockout, they propose more cuts to the amount of players the teams can have. Is that growing the sport? Explain to me how this is growing the sport. Makes no sense, right? They are motivated by one thing and one thing only. What is that? Money. That's it. That's all that matters. They don't care about baseball. Prove to me that they do. You look at all this, and if you can reasonably sit there and tell me that they actually care about growing the sport at all, then I don't know what to tell you. Then nothing is going to prove it to you because this is ridiculous. How many more opportunities need to be taken away? I don't understand. No, I do understand because it's all profited by money. It's all motivated by money over and over and over and over and over and over again. I say it all the time on this show, guys, right? So when we think about it from a baseball perspective, right? When we're just going, man, you're looking at me and going, Steve, I don't care, man. I don't care about this money stuff. I just like baseball. And hey, man, I'm right there with you. I wish I didn't have to get looped into this stuff, but this is the reality of the situation because it affects everything on the field. We ask questions all the time. Well, how come the Angels can't have a winning team? How come the Angels can't draft and develop players? Well, they stack the odds against themselves, like the rest of Major League Baseball. They stack it against themselves. So how come they can't draft and develop? Well, because they're feeding them nothing. They're putting them in bad housing if they're doing that at all. They make them live in their cars. They don't pay them in the offseason, so they got to work at UPS. And then you wonder why they get cut at spring training when they're not getting paid. Like, who wants to play baseball like that? Who wants to do anything like that? And this isn't some rinky-dink random old league. This is Major League Baseball. The best baseball in the world. Multi-billion-dollar industry, and this is the best that can be offered? Give me a break. All right, I got to calm down. This episode is brought to you by Built Bar. This is the time of year that I've pretty much given up on all my resolutions, but this year, no, I'm sticking to my resolution to eat right thanks to Built Bar. And have you tried those Built Bar Puffs? Well, if you haven't, you're missing out on one of the best Built Bars ever made. They're the first protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy, and they're not just a protein bar. They're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite with some incredible flavors, and they're going to be your new favorite. I promise you that much. Low calorie, high protein. Replace your candy bars with these. They are better. A typical candy bar, it can be anywhere from 200 to 300 calories, but not Built Bar. Go to Built.com and scroll down that macros chart. You're going to be surprised. At Built Bar, they're all about taste. They make it delicious first, then figure out how to make it healthy. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Back here on Locked On Angels, your first listen of the day. Look, I wish there were better news here today. I wish I didn't have to sit here and yell about Major League Baseball's treatment of minor league players, but someone's got to do it, right? Because otherwise this stuff just kind of disappears, right? This stuff just kind of disappears, and it's not getting any better. So we're talking about what's the connection to the Angels here? Well, obviously there's been tons of news over the last couple of years, the treatment of minor league players not getting paid during COVID and all this stuff with Artie and all this stuff, right? There's a bunch of stuff going on right now, especially in the treatment of minor league players. And I will say here, to try and get something positive, people are talking about it, right? That's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's a step in the right direction. There's a long way to go. And this is just a bad week for baseball right now. It's just a bad week for baseball. This is coming from The Athletic. This is an article from Brittany Giroli. I really appreciate her writing. And Kenny Rosenberg was quoted in this article. We've had Kenny Rosenberg on the show before. Cool guy. Just came over to the Angel system from the Ray system. Really sweet guy. And by the way, I'm linking all these articles in the episode description just in case you want to read them further. I highly encourage it. There's a lot of interesting stuff in here. Not all great, obviously, but it's very interesting, and it's important that you know this. Okay, so this is coming from that Athletic article. In 2018, Congress passed the Save America's Pastime Act, which deemed minor league players seasonal workers exempt from minimum wage requirements. They are also not paid overtime despite consistently spending more than 40 hours a week at their jobs, and are not paid during spring training, which is a mandated work requirement. Of course, we just talked about that. This came after that 2014 suit that we were also mentioning there. So yes, the Save America's Pastime Act was, just an awful thing. And it's just like keeping the status quo that they don't have to pay minor leaguers, right? Over and over again. That's what we keep saying. This is where Kenny comes in. He's talking about his experiences and what he has seen in minor league baseball. There are tons of quoted players in here, which again, I will highly encourage you to go read. But this is what Kenny had to say. Quote, they can say, okay, here's your apartment or hotel with roommates, or you are on your own paying elsewhere, said Kenny Rosenberg. Especially for someone like me with a wife and kid on the way, you can't have roommates. The accommodations they are offering, they get to smile and say to the media, hey, look at us. But there are plenty of loopholes to exploit. Rosenberg, whose wife works full-time, points to the American Hockey League, $51,000 a year, and the NBA's G League up to $37,000 a year, which provides housing and food, and both have yearly salaries more than double. Get this. This is the minor league AAA minimum. $14,700. $14,700. He says he spends, and this is Kenny again, spends at least half of his baseball salary on off-season training. Let's focus on that number. $14,700. If you have a rent that is $1,000 a month, which, by the way, good luck finding that, especially in the cities where AAA ballparks are located. Salt Lake City, for instance, for the Angels, $1,000 apartment. You are making $2,700 a year, and you haven't eaten or driven a car or paid your student loans or done your car payment or bought diapers or anything. You haven't done anything. You haven't even bought a glove yet. You don't even have cleats. You don't have a bat. $14,700? Have you tried to live on that? Ridiculous. This is what Kenny had to say over on his Twitter. Quote, everyone is entitled to their own opinions, but these are facts. Minor league baseball players are underpaid and underrepresented. Thank you to all who are making efforts both big and small to change that. Kenny, all the love in the world to you, man. We at Locked On Angels 1,000% back you. I 1,000% back you. I support all minor leaguers all over the place. I talk about this all the time, and it might be sounding like I'm beating a dead horse, but this is ridiculous stuff, man. And it's important to Angels fans in particular because the Angels have one of the richest owners in all of baseball, right? And the Angels consistently over the last couple of years have been near the bottom of the barrel when it comes to treating their minor leaguers. It's no secret anymore This is happening. So what are we going to do, right? Well, for one, you got to get to the point where minor leaguers can collectively bargain, right? They have to unionize at some point here. There are obviously, we've talked about it a couple of times, but there are organizations out there like Advocates for Minor Leaguers. I will link all those things down there. More Than Baseball, I'll link in the episode description. More Than Baseball is doing great work as well. But these are just like small steps that are trying to address the symptoms. Think of them like the cough medicine, right? They don't treat the actual root cause. They're just treating the symptoms. And that's the problem we have right now, because we can't just fix these problems right now. Major League Baseball needs to be pressured. And right now they're pushing in the opposite direction, like we've laid out in our first segment. It's just getting worse. So at some point, I got to imagine, if this just keeps happening, in the short term, players walk out, right? Minor league players are going to say, screw this. Because wouldn't you? And then in the long term, baseball's dead. It's over. Baseball, as we know it, will just die, right? And maybe that's a good thing, not that the sport dies, but that as we know it, it dies, because something clearly has to change. You can't keep playing like this. You can't keep toying with people's lives like this, right? Again, I'll highly encourage you to go read those Athletic articles. They're all really well written. I also, again, will link the... what was it from? Bleacher Report. The Bleacher Report one, that one's free. Obviously, you have to pay for the Athletic. But the free one from Bleacher Report details out some good stuff as well. It's really important stuff, guys. And I hate to be all negative, especially with me leaving the show here kind of soon. But I had to say this. You just have to say this stuff. And I wish it were better. I wish these minor leaguers the best. I hope they can fight and get things that they 100% deserve. And just not even, from a baseball perspective, yeah, it's good for competition. It makes players better and it gets them better opportunities. Yes, but just from a human level, treat these people with respect. How much money does Artie Moreno and all his 29 friends around Major League Baseball need? How much do you need, man? Give Kenny Rosenberg more money. Right? Give Kyron Paris more money. Give all those guys. Even if they're not top 30 guys, it doesn't matter. They're human beings paying or playing in your organization. Treat your employees with some damn respect. Football might be over this season, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline.net remains the number one spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds, right to the Olympic coverage and info. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. Bet online, where the game starts. Back here on Locked On Angels. It's been a very negative episode. And again, I'm sorry, guys. Thanks for making us your first listen and for sticking around here throughout the show. I'm going to try and make my last show on Friday a little bit happier. I know the last two, oh my gosh, I know, guys. It's just a bad week for baseball. But we do have some more negative stuff to talk about, unfortunately, but this is important stuff. I'm going to get you a brief update on the Tyler Skaggs situation, the trial, of course, going on right now in Texas. The reason I haven't been talking about this is because it's moving so fast, right? So they're in court right now. And so with us being a 3-time-a-week show and coming out, in the mornings, it's kind of hard to keep up with this kind of stuff. So this is what I'm going to tell you to do. If you aren't already, you need to go follow Sam Blum over on Twitter. He's a friend of the show. He's been on the show before. I'll leave a link to his Twitter account in the episode description. Sam Blum has been knocking it out of the park with the coverage of this trial. He's giving like minute-by-minute updates on all the testimonies and all that stuff. They're still in trial right now. So if you aren't following Sam Blum, then you you really need to. No one's paying me to say that or anything. You really straight up just need to go do it. Obviously, some stuff has come out about Matt Harvey, CJ Cron. Like there's a lot going on right now. It sucks. It's heartbreaking and it's a bummer. It's not good for baseball. It's not a good PR move for baseball right now. And just, like I said, man, it's been a real negative week. I hope you all out there are feeling some semblance of happiness elsewhere in your life, because it's kind of hard to be a baseball fan right now, right? Like, it's not a great time. I can only hope that, greener pastures are ahead. But yeah, I don't even know what I want to say about this at this point. But again, just go follow Sam. He's doing great coverage over there. It would be remiss of me not to bring this up at some point on the show. But again, the reason is it's just really hard to keep up with just on a daily or a 3 times a week basis to get the show updated, because by the time I say that information's old, right? So it's better to follow on Twitter, follow it on, articles being written about it, LA Times, The Athletic, stuff like that. Are doing a really, really good job of covering it. So go check those out. And if you want to stay up to date, that's how you should do it. If you don't want to stay up to date with this trial, then I completely understand, because it's heartbreaking. It's awful. It's gut wrenching. It's tiring. Like, I get it if you don't want to keep up with this. So don't feel like you have to keep up with the trial just because it's the Angels and stuff like that. If you need a break from that stuff, then take a break. It's okay. Completely fine. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. All right, guys, again, sorry for the negative episode, man. You know me, I love to celebrate the game. I love the culture of it. I want to lift players up and stuff, but sometimes these things just kind of need to be addressed, and that's unfortunately what I had to do today. So sorry. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for having an open mind, and we're just trying to make the world a better place however much we can. All right, guys, we'll talk to you on Friday. Later.